Welcome to another episode of Navigating Your Unretired Life. Today, I am so honored to have a dear friend of mine, Rick Moody, who is an amazing person who's been navigating his own, if he calls it retired or unretired life, doesn't matter. He is taking major climate action. He's a former VP of higher education at ARC for several years. He did some stuff with travel and he's gone through several experiences actually taking people in and watching them age to the end of their life, so he knows a whole lot. And he's gotten, I think, what, 14 editions of a textbook on gerontology. Isn't that right?
It's only up to 11 right now. We're
Oh,
working on
11.
the
Oh,
11th.
11. Okay, I didn't get that right. And he's a great person. So without further ado, I want to introduce him talking about his amazing book, if I can get it right, which I think is called Climate Change in an Aging Society, which is the same name as his amazing e-newsletter. Am I
You
correct?
got it. You got it right.
Okay. So tell me, what inspired you? I mean, what inspired you to write this book, particularly at this stage in your life?
Well, to be honest, what inspired me is the fact that I moved from Boulder, Colorado, where I used to live, to San Mateo, California, near San Francisco. Why did I do that? Because I wanted to be near my children and grandchildren, specifically my three little grandchildren, granddaughters. And they only live a half hour from where I'm sitting right now. And the more I thought about it, the more I realized the world that they grew up in, that they grow up in, is not going to be the world that I grew up in. Because I was born the last year of World War II, 1945, and I'm going to be 80 years old next month, February 2025. And you start asking yourself, well, when one of my daughters is 80 years old, that's going to be the 22nd century. What kind of world is she going to be dealing with? So I
Yeah.
asked that question, and I said, I got to do something about this. I have to admit, until I moved here, I wasn't too active on climate issues. I was interested in political things, but climate, I kind of took it for granted. You know, the earth will always be here. I now realize that's not true. And therefore, I have to let other people know what the threat is, but also what they can do about it. And that's why I wrote the book.
Didn't you tell me you got flooded? That you had a excessive rain, extreme
I
weather there,
did. I
and
did.
your own house got flooded?
We were in an atmospheric river, which I didn't even know the meaning of an atmospheric river until I was looking up at the ceiling and water started coming out of the electric light fixtures. And I said, this is not right. And my wife said the same thing. And the next hour or so, we're wandering around with buckets in
Yeah,
our apartment until we ran out of buckets.
yeah.
Anyway, that was an atmospheric river. I've been involved in other atmospheric rivers, driving a car from South San Francisco to San Mateo. And you know where that is. You've
Yeah.
lived in this area.
Mhm.
We thought it was pretty easy drive. This was on New Year's Eve 2 years ago, driving on El Camino Real, which is a big road. El Camino, big road. Unfortunately, as we drove along, we realized we couldn't drive any further because that road was completely flooded and cars were getting stuck. And once they get stuck, the water gets high enough, you can't drive the car anymore. So we had to find other routes. We made it home, but that was my education on climate change.
Immediate, realistic
Realistic,
experience.
realistic, absolutely.
Yeah.
That's
Well,
that's
one of the books that I reviewed was from a former minister who got into climate awareness, and he went deeper. Adler, I'll call Beyond Doom, and he talks about three major scenarios. One scenario is, yeah, we got climate change, but we've got all the technology and all the ways to eliminate it and get it under control. That's one group.
yeah,
Another group says time has passed, and they use some of those things, but then they realize that they lose some people. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And then there's a third group that loses a whole bunch of people, and the quality of life on the planet is really not the same because of the
Yeah.
extremity. But they too survived. Some of them went to Mars, maybe, but the ones who remain, you know, holed up in whatever way they did it and managed to come through. But almost they have to live kind of like a pre-industrial life because so
That's right.
many. And then that fourth scenario is total extinction, that it didn't happen in time enough. And he has a here's that one great thing about aging. He says that all civilizations, including us, of course, age. We have a life cycle.
Mhm.
So within that context, how does your book fit in? How are you, without people be getting overly alarmed, how are you doing this in your book to help people navigate their lives? You know,
Well, to
I'm
be,
particularly interested in people who are our age. Go ahead.
yeah, I'm 79 years old. I'll be 80 next month. My my approach is not one to predict the future or even to anticipate the distant future. By
Yeah,
distant, I mean beyond a year, 5 years, 10 years. I'm willing to do that. Let's get back to the question.
yeah.
I can't anticipate the future, and I worry about people who are too optimistic or too pessimistic
Mm,
because the optimists, the technology people who think geoengineering will bail us out or we can all go to Mars, like, Jeff Bezos or Elon Musk, they think, let's go to Mars. This is unrealistic because we haven't got the capacity to do it now. So it's a kind of false hope. But there's also false fear. False fear is we're all going to be extinct. Civilization will disappear, human beings will disappear. These are possible. The extreme pessimism is possible, the extreme optimism is possible. I don't go with either one. I go with pragmatism. What is likely to happen in the near future, 5, 10 years, 20 years, by the time my grandchildren are grown up, let's say, by the time I'm not here anymore, by the way, because if somebody's 80 years old, not likely to be living to 100 years old, maybe 90 if you're lucky, but probably not 100. So, what do you do in that time frame? 10 years, 20 years. And the answer is you do things that are pragmatic, that is, that can make a difference and that people can see, I can do this, because we need to avoid complacency, which is what extreme optimism is. Technology will bail us out. And we also need to avoid extreme pessimism. It's all hopeless. It's too late.
yeah.
We can't do anything because both extreme optimism and extreme pessimism result in helplessness, complacency. Don't do anything.
Well,
I'm interested in action.
what I've learned is if you think you're all alone in whatever you do, it's harder. But
Yeah.
if you are part of a community that can be instructive and even supportive, I was so honored today. I had been invited to uh, a global, listen to this, a 7 a.m. global e-learning session with the people who actually wrote the climate boot camp for Al Gore's
Oh, yeah.
operation.
Climate reality. Very good group.
Yeah, and every leader from across the planet, man, I was so honored. There were people from India, there were people from South Africa, there were people from the United States, and all of them are extremely positive, okay, extremely affirmative,
Mm-hmm.
talking about the very practical and pragmatic work that they were doing,
That's
okay.
great.
And
That's what we need.
I just was stoked. I just was so honored. And I felt so good by being in their presence, the vibration that they had in that meeting. I'm
Well,
still resonating with
you've
it.
you've
Okay.
hit the point right here, Art. And the point is you felt good from hearing it. And
Absolutely.
the, my worry is if you talk about it in the wrong way, people will feel bad. I'll give you an example. A few years ago, I gave, before I moved to California, I gave a talk at a senior center near New Haven, Connecticut, in the town of Hamden. And thought I did a pretty good job about climate change. That was all I talked about. After the talk, I was leaving the room, leaving the senior center, and an older woman came up to me and she said, "Oh, Dr. Moody," that's what they call you if you have a PhD. "Dr. Moody, your talk was so impressive." She said, "I'm just glad I won't be here to see it." That was her message. It was so impressive that I hope I die. I'm glad I'm going to die.
I don't have to
That
deal
means,
with this. Yeah.
that means
Yeah.
that I gave the wrong message. I gave the wrong message. And I learned from that experience. And in my book, my climate book, by the way, in the first chapter, in the first paragraph, I tell that story because I say,
Right.
don't make my mistake. Okay. Don't
Yeah.
do what I did. Don't just talk about problems. Talk about
Right.
solutions. Where are they? What are they? What can I do? That's my point.
Well, I think what we're challenged to do is to integrate what's going on in people's life, even ladies like that are just worried about how they're aging and
Yes,
what their age is, and then relate something to them that helps them be better consumers of whatever products that they're doing, that makes them feel good and makes them part of a fellowship of community
I
that
agree.
that raises her up. Okay.
I agree with you. I agree with you. And
Yeah.
that's why when I decided to write the book, I said, I need to take advantage of what I've learned from Donald Trump, of all people,
Yeah.
because Trump boiled everything that he was saying down to 4 words: MAGA, make America great again.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't agree with how his idea of a great America is, because it excludes a lot of people. I don't agree with that. But I do admire that Trump is a good marketer. So I said, I need 4 words. And I came up with my 4 words: here, now, you, hope. Those are my four
Nice.
words.
That
And
is
about
nice.
climate.
Yeah.
And so people say to me sometimes, okay, hope, that just means things are going to get better, right? I said, wrong. Hope doesn't mean that. Uh, there's a great environmentalist who said, hope is a verb with its sleeves rolled up. So hope is what you do when you're playing football and you're behind at halftime. You're behind. The coach doesn't say, okay, guys, halftime, you're losing, just go home, forget about it. He doesn't
No.
say that. He says, we need a new strategy, we need a new approach. And he comes up with a new approach. Maybe it has some risks, maybe it doesn't, but he does the right thing by action. So that's what I came up with.
So do
That's
you
why I
talk
wrote the
about
book.
this in your book as you get into later chapters? Do
Well, I
you?
don't wait to the later chapters, because one of the things I learned about reading books is you got to put everything right up front. And so
Mm,
I put right up front, you got to do something here, now, you, hope. And then somebody says, well, okay, action. What do we do? What are the things that we do? And I say, well, there's a few of them. One of them is becoming a climate conscious consumer. You can do
right.
that. I'm
Yeah.
doing it right now. My wife and I are moving toward a vegan diet. Okay, you don't have to go vegan. You can go vegetarian. Okay, you don't have to go vegetarian. You can just buy regenerative food products, agriculture. You
Right.
can be sensible about what you buy in food. You can be sensible about what you do with your car. A lot of people who drive a lot, I'm not one of them, but the ones who do drive a lot, they get an electric vehicle. That's another consumer example.
Yeah.
Uh, they do things with their home to make their home more efficient. I've spent thousands of dollars just in the last year getting better windows to curb my electric use. We have a
Nice.
new stove, electric stove, induction top. So those are things that I can do. Here's something that I admire, but I can't do. The building that I'm sitting in right now, where I live, is a condo, 50 people, 50 apartments, rather, more than 50 people. And I can't put in uh, solar panels because that really is controlled by the entire building. I can't
The
do it as an
HOA.
individual.
Yes. Uh-huh.
But my point is this: don't focus on things that you can't do. Focus on things that you can do. And the last thing that you've mentioned already, Art, is link up with other people. And
Yeah.
that's what I've done. So join an organization. I'm having a birthday party next month in February 2025. All the people coming to the party, except my daughter and son in law, all the others are people who are working on climate action. Every single one of them. Not a lot of people. Okay, 6 or 7 people. I don't have a big birthday party, but it's a true story that I'm telling here. And my point is that those people are coming to my birthday party. I didn't even know any of them 4 years ago when I moved here to California. But I've gotten connected with literally hundreds of people here in California and around the country from my newsletters, from face to face action. So you hit it right on the spot when you said connect with others. Don't act
Yeah.
alone. Don't be alone. Be with others. That's
Well,
my point.
I love giving myself the tombstone test. Here I am standing over my own grave or my own whatever, and I've passed on. What do I want to have people say about me? How do I want them to feel about
That
what?
is that is the right. That is exactly
Yeah,
Art. I'm going to call. I'm going to use you and call it a tombstone test.
yeah.
You may know Reb Zalman Schachter. May he rest in peace. A great
Hmm.
advocate for elders. He was a rabbi. I was with him. This is 20 years ago in a restaurant having coffee, and he said, Rick. He said, Rick. There's only one question about having a good old age. I said, what's that? He said, the question is, are you saved? Are you saved? And I thought to myself, well, he's a clergyman. Is this
Oh
a
yeah.
religious? He said, no, I don't mean, he said, I don't mean it religious at all. He said, I mean it in a computer sense. Are you saved? Have you downloaded your life experience for future
Nice.
generations? Are you
Yes.
doing your legacy work? He
Yeah.
said, that's what legacy work is, saving what is good in your own life for future generations. That's what Reb Zalman Schachter said. He was
Yeah.
right.
Well, I read that part in your book, by the way, and that's really great. And that's what I see my YouTube experience is,
Oh, I agree. I
of
agree with
tell
your
of
YouTube work.
of really reaching out and serving people well, like you, other authors, other activists, people doing some good stuff, because people do watch this. And I'm really learning this. I'm still a student in using YouTube to grow business, but also of capturing their email addresses and then giving
Yes,
value, continual value that
that's
is
right.
truly transformative in nature.
Right.
Okay.
That's the way to go.
And they're talking about not the shorts and all that, but they're talking about evergreen content, stuff that is so good, it's so essential that it doesn't age.
Yes.
Okay. It doesn't
Yes.
age.
Yes.
I'm not that essential. I'm aging, but I'm enjoying the journey. you know
We
what I'm
should enjoy the journey.
saying?
And none of us at any age really know how long we're going to live. I just
Yeah.
learned yesterday that one of my relatives, my brother-in-law, has a form of cancer that may not be curable. We don't know. We don't know. And but that's true for good friends of mine who've
Yeah.
died already, even
Yeah.
younger than me. Uh,
Yeah.
it doesn't mean we should be obsessed about this, but it
No.
means we should seize the day, seize the day, take
Yeah.
advantage of today, be here now, as Ram Dass put it.
Yeah. I love the idea of a good death. Okay.
But
Of an
not too
affirm
soon, Art.
No, not too soon, but an affirmative one. Okay. I'm
Yes.
not I'm not
Okay.
calling that too soon, but I'm just saying um I love the the funeral directors say about your eventuality. They talk about your death as your
Your
eventuality. I think that's so
eventuality. I never
slick.
heard that before. That's good.
And so I'm envisioning Terry, the guy named Terry that wrote that book. Terry, the guy he was one of the people with Ron Dass and all of that, and he just talked. He had he was doing these audio things, great conversations, and then overnight he learned that he had end of stage cancer. but he orchestrated it in a very, very courageous and noble way that I learned so much from. And
We need
so
we need
so we
things that are
need that to be
courageous and noble.
instructive. Yeah. Mhm.
You're right. You're right.
So
So
what next? What next? Tell me what next here. What
what's
you know?
next for me is I'm working on a new book on dream interpretation, and I have dreams about aging in there too, dreams about aging and climate, dreams about climate. So I'm working on a book that will be published in a year or so. My climate book has been published, but I'm not just writing and communicating. I'm also working with people. I'm working with young people. We're doing work right here in Northern California with groups of young people. I'll mention one. Jaden Wan is his name. He's 17 years old, and he's so skillful and sophisticated that we elders put him in charge of all the audiovisual work for our
Great.
intergenerational action retreat, which we had in October. And it was good that we had it then because it was before the election. And a lot of people are discouraged by Trump and by MAGA. I'm not discouraged. I'm energized because I say we have to find a way to work, not to work
Yeah.
with them. Sometimes we might have to work against them, but we have to work effectively. And that means we have to find the opportunities and starve the problems. I didn't make up that saying. That's Peter Drucker's saying. Feed the
Yes.
opportunities, starve the problems.
Yeah.
So
I think Trump's extremism is a catalyst.
it's a catalyst.
It's a catalyst for us to take action in a
Exactly.
meaningful and better and very, very consistent way, calmly.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
I'm not into burning anything down, but of just continually moving powerfully forward in really awesomely good ways that
Yes.
demonstrate the truth of who we are, our truth of our inclusive humanity. Okay, and this too will pass. The chaos, you can't create goodness with chaos.
No, not
Chaos is
possible.
chaos. That's all it is. Okay, and so you see all these conflicting things already showing up, people taking action, incredible stuff. You're not going to not going to get rid of FEMA. You're not going to take over Greenland. You're not all of this BS to essentially kind of distract people about some of the other things he's trying to push through. So I don't want to
Right.
get into a political discussion because there are other people that don't quite agree with me. I still am taking a higher plane because all of us, and what's really interesting is, and I just mentioned this, is that when Biden got the Inflation Reduction Act
Inflation
in,
Reduction Act. Yes.
70% of that money is coming into to Republican states. Okay,
I
of the
know.
money. Okay, and so in if if people on both sides of the aisle are smart, they're not going to contest that because they have constituencies that can benefit from that and visibly benefit that can keep them in office
They're not going to refuse the money.
or kick them out if they're not smart.
Right.
So I think there's a wake up call. History repeats itself because when the first robber barons were doing their thing in America, it took up to Teddy Roosevelt to finally say, "Hey, we got to change something here."
Yeah.
And then FDR came with his New Deal, and we still have people. I just came out of a conference with great youth called the Green New Deal Network,
That's right.
and it was
It
nice. And
exists.
they were led by really smart young people. Okay, and
That
then Bill McKibben shows up and said, "Look, I'm here to help. I'm not trying to lead this,
I
but I
saw
want to
that. I
support."
I
Did you
was I,
see
I
that?
was in that broadcast with Bill McKibben. I was not a speaker, but I watched him, and he said something different from the others because a lot of the others in the first part said we need to do this. We should avoid doing that. They were very affirmative about what we should do. And then Bill McKibben got on, and he said, I'm an old guy. I don't
Yeah.
know too much. I don't understand too much, but I know we got to begin. We got to do something. I want to work with the young people to begin. I thought that was very wise.
Well,
very humble.
that was a lesson learned. That was
That
a
was a
lesson
lesson learned.
learned.
That was a lesson learned.
And
So I
yeah,
think that's what we're trying to do here in California. Bill McKibben has done it in Vermont, where he lives. So you're talking about from ocean to ocean, the entire continent, and we
yeah.
can do it in the Midwest too. So I'm optimistic about what we can do, not what we can't do.
And
And
I want to tell
I
stories
leave the
about
rest of
that.
the stuff to
Yeah,
Trump, what we can't
yeah.
do.
Well, this is so good. I think this is great. I really, what's the name of your book again? Because, I want people to read
Climate
that.
change and an aging society.
An aging society, and also they can also subscribe to your e-newsletter, which is the same name, correct?
Same name. And I don't charge any money for my newsletter. I don't sell anything. I don't even promote or sell my own book. I list my book. I list many books. But if people want to get a free sample copy of the newsletter, just have them send me a message, hrmoody@yahoo.com.
Okay, great.
hrmoody@yahoo.com, and I'll give you a sample copy. And if you like it, you can subscribe. If you don't like it, reject it. That's okay too. It's up to you.
Well, great. Listen, folks, if you really need to know more about where we're going with this, you can also um, text or call me at 206-920-8067. You can email me at support@newworldcom.com because I want to hear from you. If you weigh in with what's on your mind, then we can do better with the kind of programming that we do to deliver on your behalf. So thank you so much, and it's been great. Thank you so much, Rick. This has been a
Okay.
great discussion.
All
Thank you.
right.
All right.